What's up, guys? It's Chris, Bonafide Hustler, coming to you live from my garage. I haven't been feeling good lately, so I haven't been putting out as many videos as I wanted to. I've been sick for like a week, but hey, when I'm sick, I'm still hustling, I'm still making money, so there's no excuses why not to do this stuff, man. You guys gotta get to hustling. It's fun, and you can make a ton of money, even when you're sick. So, today we're gonna talk about, well, you know, first, I think it's really important that I go over, well, let's put it this way, I go over risk again with you guys, because it seems to be a really popular question that I get from a lot of my friends that know what I do. And if it's a popular question from my friends, it's got to be popular out there. People are thinking like, where is he getting his risk number from, and how is he kind of calculating that? Even my own girlfriend sometimes will say, how are you getting to that number? So I'm going to give you guys a little example of what's going on here. And this is how a hustler calculates risk, okay? And we're going to take it from just a simple example of a jacket that I had not too long ago, probably about a month ago, that I had bought for 20 bucks, and my risk was about $5 of the $20, which means worst case scenario, you know, am I gonna sell that jacket for nothing and just donate it? No. Am I gonna sell it for $5? No. Worst case scenario, I'm gonna sell that jacket for like 15 bucks. If everything goes wrong, okay, that you know what hits the fan. What happens though is if you pick out your risk properly and you know the product that you have and you got some demand going on, you can check your phone, you know there's some demand out there for it, I ended up selling the jacket for 60 bucks, okay? So the profit was $40 because I bought it for 20 bucks. So realistically what happened here is that I risked $5 because worst case scenario, if this thing didn't work out for me, I was gonna sell for $15, okay? That's a $5 loss out of my pocket. But I risked 5 and I ended up making 40, okay? Simple math, 40 divided by 5, 8 times my money. And that's real hustling right there, all right? So that's where I get my numbers from, and that's kind of how I deal with, you know, was it profitable or was it not profitable, and I kind of figure out my favorite items just based on things like that right there, okay? So let's talk about some of the items that have sold recently now. And I forgot what these are. Some of these sold through Craigslist and some sold through eBay. These are just some of the ones that I've sold this week. First of all, from video I believe 3, I showed you guys a box of fishing lures that I had. And in this box of fishing lures, there was just like a box full of lures, and I got it for about 10 bucks. And I made sure to tell the guy, hey, look, I don't even know what the hell's in this box, but you know, I'll look at it when I get home. Give me your best cash deal in the box, 10 bucks for the box. And I ended up making, and I'm not even done with the box yet, but so far I've sold enough to make 8 times my risk on that box. So that's good, and there's still some left over. So that was a very profitable thing, and honestly that was my first fishing lure kind of experience. I see a lot of fishing lures in the antique mall where I have my booth and everything, and so that kind of led me to look at the market on eBay. And then of course when I went to a little junk swap meet kind of thing and I saw a box of fishing lures, I naturally thought, hey, maybe I can get into this thing really cheap and start learning about fishing lures. So as long as you get in dirt cheap, you can try just about anything hustling, okay? Another thing that sold on eBay recently was a vintage phone that I found in some guy's like junkyard. And that vintage phone cost me about 5 bucks. And it was called a Westinghouse Electric E1D1, which I believe came from like 29 or 1930, right around there. But it was a really cool looking rotary dial, and it was all messed up. I mean, it was like wires hanging out. I didn't even think the dial was missing, and you know, it just had a lot of things messed up. The paint was peeling, but it's part of history, right? So there's just less and less of these every day, and I'm sure someone's going to either restore it or just put it right on their desk, right? So that thing sold for 11 times my money risk on that thing. So that was amazing. Every time I see an E1D1 vintage phone, I'm going to buy it every time. Okay, so something more current day that I've sold. Recently I sold a pair of Crocs sandals. And they're not like the Crocs that you see in the stores and people walking around, people gardening with these Crocs. No. These were like called Crocs, I believe like Ticalis or something like that. They're a little bit more rare. But I found some at a Goodwill for like 10 bucks. And so I bought them, and they were cool, and they had the tag on them. So they obviously weren't used. And I just decided, hey, you know, I looked at the market on the phone for them. Showed them selling anywhere between 40 and 50 bucks. Of course, I sold it for about, I think it was like 40 bucks, maybe 50. Either way, I made like 6 times my risk on that one. So hey, it's great. Great learning experience. Every time I see some Crocs, I'm going to buy the hell out of them too. So let's talk about something that I found on the first video, I think, or maybe the second video, was a box of hats And there's a ton of hats in this stuff, right? There's a ton of hats in this box. And some are really cool and some are real rare and some aren't, right? But I've already sold 2 of them, and I've made back the money that I've spent on this entire box already just with 2 hats. And there are like 20 left in here. So this is going to be a huge like gold mine, this little hat box. But that happens to be something we're going to talk about later. So I'm going to talk to you guys about some of the stuff I found this week and recently. That's stuff that's going to go to market and go for sale. So, you know, when I'm not dealing with old stuff and, you know, Croc sandals, I'll deal with stuff like this. I'll deal with Star Wars Legos, you know, or any Legos that are in a box, not opened. Man, they're $2.99. There's a Goodwill sticker right here. This thing will probably sell online for like $40. No joke. Let's see what else we got here. This is kind of interesting right here. This is a wakeboard binding. It's a CWB with the hinge technology right here. It's called a sage binding, okay? You see all this like white and like bluish kind of stuff. This is a woman's binding. And CWB, if you don't know about wakeboard bindings, CWB is really good. So it's Hyperlight, Liquid Force. So these are in the top category of wakeboard bindings. Interesting thing about this is it came on this, which is a CWB Lotus board, I believe. All right. So it came on this, right? But the way I'm gonna sell it isn't as a package deal. I bought them both for about $40, and you know, I got them both listed here and there for, you know, 60 or 70 bucks. So I'm gonna make a pretty good profit on both of these things. But the reason why I separated this stuff is because, you know, the person that's necessarily interested in the board might not need the bindings, and the person that wants the bindings might not necessarily need the board. So separate that stuff, you know, and you can make money 2 ways on this deal. What else here? A pair of skis. Not exactly. We're coming out of the season for skis and snowboards, but I still kind of mess with them if the price is right. These right here were like $20, and I literally had an identical pair of these things that sold on eBay not too long ago for like, I believe it was 80 bucks, and that's not even including the shipping. So, you know, you can't go wrong. I mean, worst case scenario, yeah, I just flatten out on these and I sell them for 20 bucks. I mean, that's not going to happen though, but you know, you see where my thought process is going. These are really cool. These are Solomon X Screams 189s with the 810 Ti bindings. They're pretty cool. You know, it's not the newest and greatest, but it's pretty good stuff. So look for stuff like this. And then the last thing, this thing's probably going to crash in my garage. Last thing I got is something like this. Be looking for old signs, you know, they're all ripped up. Not really old, but it's got cool stuff on it, and it's got something with blasting, so some person out there is going to be like, hey, I'll buy that sign for you for like 40 bucks, and it'll cost me like $5. So that thing's cool. So that's what I look at, you know. Every time we do these videos, I'm going to show you guys exactly what I'm looking for, and I experiment a lot. Oh, here's one last thing. And this thing I like a lot. I went to a, what was it? It was a pick out in the country, and yeah, I mean, it was just neat. And there was just a dude that had a bunch of like old trains and cap gun collector dude. This is an old vintage cap gun, real vintage, because as you can see with the lock right there, it actually has real bullets that have caps at the end that you have to load yourself. So these aren't the roll caps that you're accustomed to, or are they like the circular ones with a little, you know, It's not like that kind of cap gun. It just actually took like bullet looking things that were caps. So you can see it right there. It's pretty cool. I like this thing a lot. I don't even know if I want to get rid of it because it's so rare, but you know, it's amazing. It feels like a real gun. It really does. So look for this kind of stuff. If it's a one-off kind of thing, and if you try to research and you can't find it, and you suspect it to be pretty rare, you probably want to get into the product somehow. Okay, so we're going to go into the item of the day. And the item of the day, because it's really important that we discuss this sometime into the program, are these vintage, these trucker hats, okay? So we're going to talk about trucker hats and what to look for, because, you know, there's so many current day trucker hats, but the money is really in the older ones, okay? So the main thing about trucker hats is you want to look for subject matter that's really relevant. And when the subject matter really isn't that relevant, the value of the trucker hat goes down significantly, okay? But at the same time, you want to look at, you know, how new the trucker hat is. So what you want to look for is subject matter. An old Mercedes-Benz trucker hat. This thing's awesome. I mean, just totally cool. You want to look for about a 90-degree bend right there. You guys see that? That looks, that kind of just shows you that it hasn't really been worn at all. And then you want to look for the straight bill, okay? Condition, okay? Condition, 90 degrees, and subject matter, okay? So look for that kind of stuff. Here's one that's an older Dos Equis Cerveza one. Some college kids in some college towns are going to want this thing. Straight bill, 90 degrees, and then subject matter is decent enough to sell it, okay? Other ones in here that I have are things like the official Heine Inspector. All right, that one right there, flat, 90 degrees, and the subject matter is kind of funny, you know, Heine Inspector. Okay, I get it. It's kind of cool. Here's one that's really cool. Alabama Closer You Get Tour 1983. Totally awesome. There you go. It's straight, 90 degrees, and the subject matter is definitely cool. All right, here's one of my favorites. I don't even know if I'm going to sell this one because I really like this one, and I'm kind of a nerd at heart, so there you go. Vintage Space Shuttle hat. Totally, totally awesome. 90 degrees. There's your straight bill. Subject matter, amazing, okay? Now here's where it gets kind of weird, like, and this is why I want to show you this kind of stuff, because here's like one that says Retama Polo Center. Like, okay, that's not that cool, but hey, it's a trucker hat and it's got a neat color. That's okay. But we're talking literally like half the price of what you would charge for that, if that. But you gotta remember, I got this box at a really good rate, so I really didn't care what was in the box. So as long as there was at least 4 to 5, maybe 6, like good subject matter hats. These right here, CAF, don't know what this is all about. You know, I'm not so hot about that one. I'm not so hot about the Shipyard and the Hilton Head, none of these. We don't have to go through all these, but the cool ones I put forward, and these kind of, you know, ones I just kind of left back here. I mean, they're not that cool. So let's recap what to look for, okay? Because there's so many trucker hats out there. They're like Ed Hardy ones and trucker hats for all kinds of stuff. Billabong and Stussy and like all this crap. Honestly, I don't believe there's really any money in that stuff. So when I want to make my money, I want to make my money sure, and I want to make my money. I want to make sure my money is kind of predictable. Okay. So on the trucker hats, you're looking for those straight bills. First of all, you want the condition to be looking new, so someone can literally put that thing on and go, "This thing hasn't been worn. I like it." 90-degree brim to hat. Okay. So you're looking for that thing right there, 90 degrees, and then that's that thing right there. All right. That's what you're looking for, because that'll indicate that it pretty much hasn't been worn yet. And then rarity, okay? The more rare the subject matter, the better the hat's gonna sell. That's like a no-brainer. And then condition, okay? Make sure it looks good, no stains, and no sweat brow stains right there on the little sweat thing. So you definitely wanna make sure and look at that stuff. But start looking for these trucker hats, man. I mean, just like those Dooney purses and the Pearl Snap shirts, when you find some good ones, they'll sell like hotcakes. There's no problem. You can box these into tiny boxes, put them on eBay. You can put them in antique malls. They just sell all the time. So look out for this stuff. And hey, if you like these videos, comment and give me a thumbs up. And I will talk to you guys soon. All right? See ya.